KSR's Jack Pilgrim here, not in Toronto, alongside my guy, other KSR's Zach Gagan, the Triple G. We are the champions. Play the soundbite. Kentucky leaves Toronto, the Globl Jam, with a 4-0 overall record, Zach, with a 89-72 victory over Team Canada to close that thing out. A lot of positive takeaways. I wasn't able to watch as intently as possible because I was 30,000 feet in the air. The Wi-Fi sucked. Steven and I were trying to run from one part of the airport to the other, go through customs, go through luggage, and all that. We literally sprinted to the other side of the airport to make this flight home, or else I'd still be stuck up in, I think, Washington, D.C. or whatever. Time is irrelevant to me at this point. But, Zach, you were our field reporter for the night. You got to take that game in. What did you think of Kentucky's 89-72 victory over Team Canada to close out the gold medal?
Well, first of all, Jack, welcome back home to the States. Glad you've made it safe and sound. I heard you had some, not necessarily travel issues, but some interesting delays throughout your trip up there in Canada. So I'm sure we'll hear plenty more about that. And sources say that might be coming later soon today. No spoilers. I'm not sure what your schedule is or not, but but yes, I was acting as Jack Pilgrim last night, covering the team live 12 hours away from wherever they were playing in Toronto there. And it was pretty much more of the same of everything we saw all week. It was just Kentucky, especially in that it was pretty much almost like a mirrored image of that first matchup against Canada. Even score-wise was close. I think the first score of that game was 93-69. This one was 89-72, so a little bit closer. But and even in the first half, Canada actually did keep this game a little bit tight. They switched in some zone defenses through the second quarter that really gave Kentucky some fits. But that third quarter run was just symptomatic of everything that we saw all week. It was just Kentucky running up and down the floor, playing good defense, shooting the ball whenever they want, getting all the shots they wanted. You just had Trey Mitchell and Antonio Reeves just literally carving up those Canadians. It was an excellent all-around finish to, what was just a great week in general. I don't think many people would have, or a lot of people probably would have understood if Kentucky maybe came out not necessarily flat, but especially after hanging out at Drake's house all day and doing all that on Friday, maybe if they came out a little step slow on Saturday and then maybe on Sunday playing 4 games in 5 days, maybe they would be a little bit slow then, but that was not the case. You can chalk that up to having so many, freshmen and a do out there just wanting to run around and be as fast as they can. So, overall that you can take into account the competition all you want. Obviously it's not like they were playing SEC teams out there, but it was definitely better than what they saw in the Bahamas last year. So overall, I was impressed with everything we learned. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more in depth about some of the exact things we saw, but the freshmen were great. Like I said, the veterans were good. Obviously missing a couple of 7-footers out there, so things will definitely change, and the lineups and the rotations and everything will look a lot different in early November than what they did this last week. But overall, my thoughts were great. I think we've got a really fun team. I think that's the one thing that you can take away is this team is going to be really, really fun. They're going to want to run. They're going to want to shoot. They've got some really crafty playmakers, even at the forward positions with Trey Mitchell. So just going to be a very fun, entertaining team to watch. Still yet to be seen, I guess, how good or not good they will be, though.
Yeah, I really didn't care a whole lot about the competition. This was not the Team Canada that Baylor had to play last year that featured Marcus Carr, Leonard Miller, a bunch of high-level pro-level talent. But that still doesn't take away from the stuff that you could do 5-on-0. The ball movement, the selflessness, the 26 assists on 37 made baskets in the gold medal game, 103 total assists in 142 field goals to wrap up the entire event. Like, ball movement was by far the biggest takeaway for me. How unselfish the entire team was. That DJ Wagner, I thought he had some great playmaking. Rob Dillingham, who wasn't the elite scorer that we were kind of hoping that he would be, he was still a terrific playmaker. Reed Shepherd had his moments. Trey Mitchell, of all people, Kentucky's starting center as of right now, considering they have no other centers on the roster. He was a terrific playmaker. I really enjoyed just how willing this team is to pass, make that extra pass, and set up open shots. And I think that is kind of setting up pace and doing a lot of things, allowing Kentucky to get a little bit deeper into their offensive bag because of how unselfish they are. The ball's not sticking. We're not seeing advanced dribble moves deep into the shot clock. This team really likes to keep that thing moving and set up easier shots elsewhere.
Yeah, the talking about Rob, I'm not sure what many of us expected out of Rob this week. I think kind of what ended up happening was probably, what we should have expected, though, like some up and down highlights. I think the biggest takeaway with him is how perfect he's been in all his media appearances, and everything he says is just like he's saying all the right things, which I think was not necessarily a concern, but obviously he's known for the highlights and the dribbling and the shooting, and he really learned how to tone that down in this week. And I think he was like second in the team in assists, didn't turn the ball over very much. Finally found a little bit of a rhythm in the third quarter of the game against Canada, where he had fouled on that three and then had another nice like toe on the line 2-pointer. So I think the big thing for him and DJ in particular is going to be getting stronger. I think that's the main thing that those two need to focus on between now and then. Because if I have to point out any sort of slights from what we saw this week, it was the fact that those two are going to get pushed around a lot, and DJ loves to get to the rim, and he was missing a lot of the shots at the rim that you and I have seen him make consistently the last 2 years. And that's another thing. I'll kind of go on a little sidetrack here. This group of the freshmen here, I don't know about you, Jack, but me in particular, these are the kids that I've watched, for the last 2 years. Like, these are the kids that you and I have watched that we like to refer them as almost our little children, like our babies. Like, these are the kids that we've watched for so long. So just in general, it was just really fun to see all of them get out there. Reed Shepherd didn't necessarily do anything that surprised me, like stuff that we hadn't seen before. I think the big thing was just him doing it consistently, and then really stepping into that point guard role was really fun. Just to see him do that, because it's clear that I think he's probably better in that regard than maybe even we thought he was. And you and I, Jack, we've seen that kid play probably 100 games combined total. So we know kind of what we're supposed to expect out of him. So I wasn't shocked to see him play that well. But like when he did the one pass in the most recent game where he was under the basket and whipped the left-handed pass right out there to Rob, which is the one that he got fouled on the three there. Like that was just brilliant. And then the block threes and stuff like that, that was a little bit shocking too. But he's always been a sneaky athlete, if you want to go there. So it's not stuff that we've seen before, but to actually watch it play out in front of us at the level it did was really impressive. Trey Mitchell, I want to go back to him again because I think that guy is going to be unbelievably good, if not for his passing ability, more so than his stretching the floor ability. Because when he made that first backdoor cut early in the very first game against Team Germany, I wanted to say, like, did we ever see like Jacob Toppin or Oscar Tshiebwe make that pass over the last 2 years once? And I think Trey Mitchell did a backdoor pass every single game. So just, I don't know where I was going with any of this, Jack. I'm just reacting with my thoughts right now. So you can pick back up right there and talk about anything I just did.
Not rapidly. This was not the rapid reaction.
We're just reacting.
This is just the reaction. You brought up that good point about just the give and goes and the backdoor cuts, and with Trey Mitchell, his advanced basketball IQ, clearly looking just the feel for the game. Reed has a feel for the game. I think this team just has a really nice feel. But I do love the fact that Trey Mitchell has been on campus 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now, and already has that type of chemistry with DJ, already has the chemistry with other guys. And this team just looks like it's been together. It's cohesive. And I do think that the coaching staff deserves a ton of credit, like to close out the event the way they did. Yes, the competition wasn't as elite as I think when the event was scheduled, maybe even Kentucky was hoping for, certainly what I was hoping for, but they got what they needed to out of this trip that I don't think they got last year in the Bahamas. Like last year in the Bahamas, like I was in the room when Cal was going over the game film of Monterey Tech, the Mexican team that they played, and was just like, I don't know what to do here. Like, I don't know what we're getting out of this. So they were at least playing a competent basketball team that was actually trying to throw unique things, and they were coached like this. They were playing real basketball teams, maybe not the most talented, but at least cohesive groups that had been together. And like, you can learn from playing mid-major plus teams. Like that was a mid-major plus team. Whoever they played throughout the week, those were mid-major plus teams. And I think that there's still a lot to learn in matchups like that. And having guys like Trey Mitchell, having Antonio Reeves back, winning MVP honors, getting a little fancy watch. I saw that's pretty fancy. But I just, this group shouldn't be as far along as they are right now, just in terms of a cohesiveness aspect. Like, yes, Justin has 10 more pounds to add, like Cal said after the game. Rob has 15 to 20 pounds to add. DJ is going to get knocked off his spots. Like there are little tweaks and things to fix about this team. But as an overall unit, this team left Toronto with something to learn. They learned from this event. They grew from this event. And I think they proved themselves that, this is any questions that you had about this team and whether that you could get 7-8 freshmen to stick together and work together. I think they answered all of those questions.
Yeah, I think easily the biggest takeaway in all this is the togetherness and even the camaraderie type stuff that we saw at Drake's house. Like, not only are they, together on the court, they appear to be together off the court. And you mentioned that number at the beginning. It was the 103 assists to 140. Like, it's a 72% assist rate, which would have, obviously it's 4-game sample against whatever competition, but that would have been better than any team in all of college basketball last season. So that was really what stood out to me the most. I mean, even in the gold medal game yesterday, when Kentucky was up by like 6 at halftime, Canada was really throwing, some mix-up zones in there that was kind of confusing Kentucky in the second quarter. Their 18 field goals, 14 were assisted. So that was always my biggest takeaway is these guys are they just know where each other is. The backdoor cuts, they always have a really good feel. And part of that is you just got really smart basketball players. Like Trey Mitchell and Reed Sheppard are just really, really smart basketball players. Trey Mitchell doesn't look like he can run a 40-yard dash in 10 seconds. But he's out there, but he's just so smart that it doesn't even matter. He positions himself. He's got some of that Oscar in him where he just knows where the ball's going to be, when it's coming off the rim. So he can position himself well, even at 6'9", to get, tough rebounds. Or he's just a really smart, he knows how to set screens for shooters. And that's just going to help guys like Reeves and Reed and Rob and DJ when they're coming around, coming off pin downs or whatever. If Trey Mitchell's the one setting him, he's going to know at the last second when to adjust or how to position his body to get those guys just an inch more of space. And I guess we can't go much longer without talking about how good Reeves was, because he's better than he was last year. Like, I think we all knew that he was this good of a shooter, but some of the shots he was taking and making where it was just step back twos in rhythm, like no hesitation type stuff, those were just nasty shots. And every single time he shot a three, I thought it was going to go in. And I think we should also point out that FIBA line is a little bit longer than the college line, I think by maybe 8 inches or something. And Reeves was still hitting daggers from NBA range, like 24 feet, 25 feet type shots. So you just got, Calipari was using the term basketball players, but that's just what these kids are. Like, they're all just really good. They cover all the areas. Obviously, we saw them play 5 out for a lot, whether that was forced or not because of the injuries and stuff. I guess we'll see come November if that's actually how Cal wants to play. But it's clear that this team can score 90 points a game by running up and down the floor, spreading it a little bit, and just having really smart players who know, not to, overwhelm themselves or anything like that, to put themselves in good positions to score. So,
yeah, you talk about the 3-point shooting, 27 in game 1, 30 in game 2, 35 in game 3, 25 in game 4. John Calipari has never had a team hit the 20 3-point attempts per game mark ever during his time in Kentucky, and now he hasn't gone less than 25 a game up in Toronto. And yes, I do think a part of that is a product of not having Ugonna Onyenso, not having Aaron Bradshaw. Like, you're going to have to adjust, and I think that number is going to take a slight dip when they eventually return. I do want to get your thoughts on the not so great news about Ugo being out longer than anticipated. But I did appreciate that Cal saying the style of play was not going to change. He loved what he saw. He loved what he saw out of Trey Mitchell at the 5. He said, nothing's going to change on our end. With it, this team's still going to be that run and gun, make that extra pass, find the open shooters, find easy looks at the rim. Like, this is not going to be a team that goes back to the scatter plot, mid-range shooting team, long 2 shooting team that we saw last season and in recent years. This is a team that's going to be, playing modern basketball, moving, making that extra passes, making the right reads, and really thriving on, living in that 80 to 90 point per game range. Like that was exciting basketball, Zach, that I'm really glad that Cal got to see with his own two eyes with this group, just the potential that they have from an offensive perspective, because we kind of had these hopes and dreams of what they could be on that end of the floor because of how many, as Cal said, basketball players that they have. But to see them work together the way they did and see the production follow with 80 to 90 to even 100 points every single contest, like that's what makes you excited about this upcoming season, just what their offensive potential is. But we'll have to see what happens with Ugonna. So Cal saying that he is going to be out longer than anticipated. I was told that he left before the gold medal games, going home to get some tests done on his hurt ankle. I was told initially it was just a high ankle sprain. They just thought it looked like a normal high ankle sprain, like anybody ever. I think there's some extra discomfort there that I think led to some a little bit more concern that they want to get some extra tests done. And once it became clear that he wasn't playing there, they wanted to kind of focus on, all right, what's the real matter at hand? Let's make sure he's healthy long-term. So some good news. Offense was amazing. Bad news. Might have to lean on offense quite a bit as they look to get their defensive anchor back on the floor.
Yeah, the Ugo stuff will be interesting. Obviously, you still got over 3 months before, things come back. So especially if he doesn't have to have surgery, you expect him to be back. It really would have been nice to just see him out there, just to kind of see how everything, how he would have, or just kind of just how he's progressed in general, and kind of how he would have, incorporated himself into the offense and how he would make impacts on defense. But the new news that Calipari was talking about last night, we're saying, he'll be out longer than we anticipated. My guess is they probably anticipated him, when it happened, it was on Tuesday or whatever. They probably didn't think that they probably had hope that maybe he would still play in the Globl Jam at some point. I don't know if you can speak on that at all. I would imagine they probably had some hope, like, well, maybe he can play. So when Calipari said that, that could mean 2 weeks or 3 weeks for, like, I won't speculate like I'm a doctor, but I just imagine that, even if it's more severe than we thought, there's probably still a really good chance that, it's still just something that he'll just have to, kind of hunker down and recover with, and he'll be good to go by the start of the season. But obviously it would have been nice to see him and Aaron out there just to see how they would have, how they would fit into there, and just kind of see if there's if that or the progress is translated. And especially with Ugo, I know a lot of people were excited to see him. But, on the flip side, now we have the opportunity to see Trey Mitchell at the 5. We got probably more Jordan Burks minutes than we would have had those guys been playing. So we got to see some other wrinkles in there that I think Calipari will still use going forward. And it definitely sounds like he's buying into the idea of shooting more threes and running the floor and spacing the floor. We'll see if that actually is the case. I don't want to hype up Kentucky as, going 40-0 or stuff, as much fun as those jokes are to make. I do think these summer games will help with some of their preseason rankings, because a lot of these other teams didn't get to do stuff like that. So when all these AP voters are looking and they saw that Kentucky just dominated this performance, maybe they'll take them up, into the top 20, top 15 or something, which is where I expect them to probably start. And I do think there will still be adjustment periods early on against real competition for guys like Reed and DJ and Rob, where just the physicality of real college basketball will probably take some getting adjusting to. But just, overall, man, I think we really saw a lot of positive stuff. I don't know what my expectations were coming in to this week, but I'll be honest, it was not what we saw. That was I was more expecting somewhere in more of a 3-1, 2-2 type finish record, not 4-0 winning every game by 15 points.
Yeah, really impressive all-around record. You got to feel good. I mean, this was a really impressive all-around effort for the Cats. You love what they saw offensively. Understandably hurt a little bit inside. Interior defense struggled at times. You saw Canada
rebounding was an issue sometimes.
They went after it quite a bit. They're against Team Canada. It happens. That's good game planning on Canada's part, but Kentucky figured out a way to adjust and really answered all the questions that we had outside of the interior presence. Literally, that's the only thing that we have coming out of this event. And to Cal's credit, there's still the August grad transfer period. If things go really south with Ugo, if the prognosis is not good news and Aaron Bradshaw's still up in the air about, his timeline. You at least have that crutch, no pun intended. You have that to lean on just in case things go south. You can have a backup option present itself. Still, what happens with Santos Surreal? I was told that he has one more class that wasn't a summer class, unfortunately. That I think that's the big, like the one snag of getting him on campus right now. He has everything else T's crossed, I's dotted, but just because this one class isn't being offered during the summer, it's kind of one of those, probably going to have to drag out into the fall, but could be a January enrollee type situation. So that's still up in the air. I wonder if there's a workaround. There's still a lot of time. I know Kentucky is just, kind of, it's a really good thing to have that guy in your back pocket. He's committed. He's ready to come. He's an immediate physical presence. If you need him, there is a path. Like they could figure out a way to get him on campus, but we'll see what happens with Ugo. They'll get home, scheduled to leave today. They might already be in the air on their way back to Lexington now. So we'll see. It was a big week, very impressive all around week. Definitely makes you leaving feeling very excited about what this team can be long term. Some short term questions that I think will be answered clearly by the end of August. We'll see what happens there. But all in all, the Cats get gold. And that's all that matters. They came, they saw, and they conquered. Zach, let's go on and get out of here. This has been KSR's Not So Rapid Reaction. We'll see you next time.